I am Sheila Reyes Santos and I teach in the senior high school. Good afternoon, class!
Good afternoon, Ma'am Shi.
Literacy and numeracy are fundamental skills in the learning process. These are what our learners need to understand concepts, to construct meanings, and to convey insights. That is the reason why teaching and enhancing literacy and numeracy skills should be a shared accountability among teachers in all learning areas and across the grade levels. Okay, for this day, the following will be our objectives. Everybody, will you read the first objective?
To identify societal problems, particularly among teenagers, to develop potential solutions to specific problems,
And the last one?
to conceptualize an action plan.
To enhance numeracy skills among my learners, I employed the integrated teaching strategy. First, I exposed them to different statistical data, and these data are presented in the forms of graphs and charts. Using and interpreting graphs are numeracy skills. So let us try to identify the type of graph. What's this one? Yes?
Ma'am, it's a bar graph.
What do you think is being described in the bar graph?
The data tells us about bullied students and the location of bullying.
How about this pie chart? What can you say, Gwen?
Pie chart tells us that school-related works cause too much stress among teenagers.
Alright, is it true?
Yes!
When we say numeracy skills, it's not just about the fundamentals of counting and doing arithmetic operations. In a larger sense, numeracy is having the ability to solve problems, to make decisions based on logical thinking and reasoning. Every problem has a solution. We only need to act on the problem. So ACT stands for action changes things. Moreover, after I gave them the graph, I asked them to interpret the graph and organize their ideas about the graph. And using this data, they were able to come up with their action plan. The students were able to develop their vocabulary skills, and that's exactly literacy skills. Let's go and let us develop your action plan. Are you ready, class?
Yes!
Your 15 minutes starts now. The application part shows how literacy and numeracy skills are used in one shot. In this activity, the final output of my class was the action plan, which has been developed and presented by the learners. In crafting the action plan, they use the graphs. They conceptualize their programs based from the graphs. And then after that, they also estimated the budget and proposed a timeline for this. In the presentation, that is how they use literacy and numeracy skills in the activity. I realized that enhancing literacy and numeracy skills is a great advantage. Advancements in these skills open the door for better learning opportunities. It produces domino effects. What I did in my class are just few of the many simple strategies that can be used. Since literacy and numeracy skills are embedded in all learning areas, distinct across key stages and linked to the real world, we teachers should use variety of teaching strategies to enhance these two very significant skills.
I am May Grace Salazar and I teach 7th grade English. In today's 21st century classrooms, it is important that learners know how to evaluate information and be creative and innovative when they accomplish tasks. In the same way, they must learn the process of higher order thinking that is an important yet attainable goal in all classrooms, in all grade levels, and in every subject.
So class, I have here a picture of a centipede. Now, I have here a question for you. If you were given a chance to ask question about the centipede, what question would it be? Yes, Amanda.
How would it feel as a human to walk with so many pairs of legs?
That's a very good question.
When we plan for our lessons, Activities that develop learners' creativity and critical thinking and other higher order thinking skills must be one of our top priorities.
We will be having the next activity. This is the face foldable. Okay? I have prepared templates for you to accomplish. We have to fold each side of the horizontal sheet of the paper in the middle. There's already a face wherein you have to put color, okay? You have to add art into it. And then put words to describe the outward appearance of the character on the outside. These can be the things that are obvious from the story that we read. And then when you open up the pages, you will write the character traits and words to describe the character's emotions on the inside. These are the things that you have to infer about the character's traits based on the story that we have read.
The lists are endless for strategies on developing the critical thinking skills of the learners.
I have here a Venn diagram. Do you know this? This one? Okay. This is familiar, right? So we use the Venn diagram to compare and contrast ideas. And can you please write on this part the differences of Eddie with Delia, and here on the inside, the similarities that they share.
In my class, I use graphic organizers where learners can compare and contrast ideas, develop concepts, or even summarize ideas. These graphic organizers help them process the concepts realistically. I also ask directive and purposeful questions to exercise their critical thinking skills. I use guide questions because through this, they can be guided in concept development.
I have two questions again. Okay? To what object can you compare Eddie and why? Yes, MJ.
I think for Eddie, I could compare him to a vintage bomb. It is there as if it's sleeping away from people's sight, but when triggered, it could explode like Eddie's Asian for Delia.
Oh, that's good.
For application of their learning, I encourage them to reflect on what they know, what they learn, and what they have learned in the topic. This makes them reflective, at the same time, critical of their own learning.
So now that we're able to identify the conflict between Delia and Eddie, I have here some questions for you to ponder. Are you experiencing conflict with somebody? Do you want to share it with us? What do you think is the best solution to resolve the conflict that you're experiencing now? Yes, Gemma?
Recently, me and my best friend had a little misunderstanding. To resolve this, I think that we should talk things through so we can understand each other.
That's good. How about this one? If you are in conflict with someone else, would you inflict harm to him or her?
Ma'am, for me, if I am in conflict with someone, I would never ever inflict harm to him or her. Instead, I will solve things between us in a non-violent way, like talking about the problem or by proper communication.
That's good.
For me, creative thinking skills are as important as critical thinking skills. I allow my learners to think out and beyond the box through divergent thinking strategies. As much as possible, I allow them to express their creativity in the tasks that we do, allowing them to think of many different and unusual ways or ideas. They also create something out of the learned concepts through role play and other related outputs.
I'm Mrs. Eden Samadan. I'm the principal of Makati Science High School. I really am a staunch supporter of developing critical and creative thinking among our learners. That's why it's very important for teachers to employ different strategies. It is very important that we develop them to be creative thinkers as well, because we cannot thrive in the 21st century if we are not into creating new things and develop ourselves. That's why as early as while they are in school, they should be able to use their higher order thinking skills, and that specifically would be for them to develop critical and creative thinking.
I can say that critical and creative thinking skills are important life skills that students must learn as early as possible. This way, they can solve problems that they might encounter along the way.
I am Richard Agustin, and I'm a teacher of Science 6. For me, it is important for the teacher to organize and maintain classroom structure and engage learners individually or in groups, because students could be more reflective in what they are doing and become more interactive with other students. In this way, they will be able to explore and discover new things. It's a knowledge-sharing experience in the classroom wherein everyone gets engaged in hands-on learning activities. Classroom structure would mean the physical setup of the learning environment. What I usually do, I ask my students to arrange their chairs, maybe 4 or 5 chairs together, so they could use them for small group activity. I usually go around to facilitate the small groups. Now in this bag, I have here an object. Now, do you have any guess what kind of object is present in the bag? No? Okay, I will show you the object. Now tell me if you are familiar with this object. No. Okay, is there any form of energy present in this object? Yes? Can you give one form of energy? Okay, talk to your pair and say your yell if there is a form of energy present in this object. In the Think, Pair, Share activity, it helps learners to think individually about a topic or answer to a question. It teaches learners to share ideas with classmates and builds oral communication. It helps focus attention and engage learner to the lesson collaboratively. Based from our observation, can we change energy? Yes. Can we destroy energy? No. No. So let's find out in our activity. Okay, class? We'll be divided into 4. So group 1 will be sitting here. Group number 2 will be sitting there. Group number 3 will be sitting in the table 3. And group number 4 will be sitting here. Group number 1 leader, who is Archie. Okay, here are your materials. Group number 2, you'll be reading an article. Group number 3, okay, you'll be identifying materials. And group number 4, okay, you're going to cut out the materials and organize it. You can see learning stations in the different parts of the classroom where students could explore and make meaningful activities. Collaboration with their group mates and differentiated instruction were also emphasized. After doing the activity, learners move to the center for the presentation and discussion of output of every group. It is important that before the learning episode occurs, the teacher must ensure a proactive classroom structure to support flexible movement of learners as they work on their learning tasks. We'll be playing the anchor chart. You'll be having an anchor chart, okay, for every group. So we will start with the leader. I will say the object and complete the energy transformation if I say the object. Learners are fully engaged in the activities conducted by the teacher since there is optimal space and time appropriate to their needs. In my classroom activity, I use learning stations and individual tasks in managing classroom structure and develop activities which engage learners in meaningful hands-on activities which help learners understand the lesson and eventually achieve the day's learning.
Ako po si Teacher Neil Vincent Sandoval, nagtuturo ng Araling Panlipunan. Magandang araw mga bata! Bilang isang 21st century teacher, tayo ay nahaharap at nakakasalumuha sa iba't ibang mga mag-aaral. Ang mga mag-aaral na ito ay nagmula sa iba't ibang mga cultural backgrounds and identities. Kapag sinabi nating nagmula ito sa iba't ibang mga cultural backgrounds and identities, makikita natin na sila ay may iba't ibang pag-uugali, may iba't ibang paraan kung paano matuto, at may iba't ibang pananaw sa kung paano nila binibigyang sense ang kanilang mga nakikita at nalalaman.
Ako po si Domingo Arcueto, isa po akong principal. So the one-size-fits-all principle when we teach lessons would not really work. This is because our students learn differently. And that should be addressed when our teacher thinks of how to facilitate the lesson. Dito ngayon pumapasok ang kahalagahan ng differentiated instruction. So this highlights the use of procedures involving varied tasks, texts, processes, and products which are suited to the learning needs of the diverse students.
Maraming paraan para ang teacher maisagawa yung pagtataya kung papaano nakikita ang learners' differences. Una, pwede tayong mag-profile. Ang pagpo-profile na ito ay dinahahanda ng bawat guro para makita ang preference at interest ng mga bata. Makikita natin kung ano ang pinakamabisa at pinakaangkop na mga estratehiya ma-deliver ang isang paksa.
Some students learn fast, some students learn at the average pace, and some students might find the lesson challenging. So as classroom teachers, we should also consider their levels of ability so that you can come up with activities that would cater to each and every one of them.
Ngayon, hahatiin natin ang buong klase sa 4 na pangkat. Merong mga nakatakda or naka-assign sa unang learning station, sa pangalawang learning station, sa pangatlong learning station, at sa pang-4 na learning station. Maaari na po ba kayong pumunta at magbibigay ako ng tagubilin pagkatapos ninyong bisitahin ang inyong respective learning stations? Go! Bilang isang guro, sa curriculum planning pa lamang, dapat meron ng sapat na kaalaman ang isang guro sa kung ano-anong mga estratehiya ang pwede niyang gamitin. Ito ay bahagi ng differentiation bilang isang strategy. Bilang isang guro, marapat lamang na magtanong tayo sa ating sarili. Paano natin ituturo ang ating paksang tatalakayin ayon sa curriculum guide? Kung titingnan natin, dapat tanungin natin ang ating mga sarili. Ano kayang estratehiya ang gagamitin ko? Ano kaya ang proseso o paano ko kaya ito isasagawa? Maaaring nating tingnan ano kaya ang mga uri ng pagtataya o assessment na pwede kong maisagawa sa loob ng classroom. Ang paggamit ng developmentally appropriate strategies ay paraan upang mataya ng isang guro kung ano nga ba ang level at estado ng mga bata. At itong mga ito ay isa sa mga primary considerations natin bago ituro ang isang paksaing. Ito ay nagaganap upang masiguro na ang differentiation ay angkop at sapat sa mga ituturo natin sa loob ng classroom. Ang pagkakaroon ng differentiation ay maaaring magawa sa content, sa assessment, at sa teaching pedagogy na sinasabi natin bilang mga guro.
Ang pangalan ko ay Alfred James Ilyar, isa akong guro sa sekundarya. Kapag sinabi nating teaching and learning resources, ito ay kasing halaga ng mismong aralin. Ang pangunahing gamit ng isang teaching and learning resources ay upang maikonekta ng guro sa mga bata yung kanyang gustong ituro. Karaniwan, ang isang teaching resources ay nagsisilbing konkretong aspeto ng kanyang aralin. Subalit, sa pagbuo, sa pag-organize at sa paggamit ng teaching and learning resources, may mga agam-agam ang mga guro. May mga bagay na dapat siyang isaalang-alang, kagaya ng ano ba yung komposisyon ng kanyang mga bata, ano yung uri ng paksa na dapat niyang talakayin sa araw na yon, ano yung mga materyales na dapat niyang buuin o gamitin. Gayun din kung papaano niya padadaluin ang kanyang lesson. Kasama na rito yung sinasabing approach at saka yung strategy na akma dun sa mga mag-aaral. Dapat maging malinaw sa isang guro kung ano ang gamit ng isang teaching and learning resources. Ito ay upang mailapit sa mga bata ng mas epektibo ang kanyang paksa tinatalakay.
Today I will be sharing you one of the most controversial aspect of life of a person in a society, and that is freedom. Now, to start with, I will be showing you a video, and then afterwards, we'll be doing an activity. Okay?
Sa pagbuo ng isang teaching and learning resources, kinakailangan isalang-alang ng guro yung daloy ng kanyang lesson. Sa gayong bagay, mas maintindihan ng mga bata, mas maa-appreciate ng mga bata kung ano yung gustong ituro ng guro. Kinakailangan masustain ng guro ang curiosity at interest ng bata sa buong panahon ng pag-aaral.
Can you choose a particular scenario and then kindly explain?
Sa pagpapadaloy ng isang teaching and learning resources, mahalaga na makita ng guro na ang mga bata ay komportable at mayroong confidence habang ginagawa nila yung kanilang assigned learning task.
We will be doing an activity. I will be grouping you into 4. So that will be group 1, group 2, 3, and 4. And then you will be selecting a scene again. And then you will identify those elements and then its consequences.
Sa paggamit naman ng teaching and learning resources, kinakailangan akma at nararapat yung mga materyales na gagamitin niya sa bawat bahagi ng kanyang pagtuturo. Mahalaga rin na ang bawat guro ay sumasangguni sa tinatawag nating curriculum guide. Partikular dun sa content at saka dun sa performance standard. Sa ganitong bagay, mas magagabayan ang guro sa pagbuo ng kanyang mga materials. Ang mga teaching and learning resources na ginamit ko sa pagtuturo ng filosofiya ay ilan lamang sa mga maaaring magamit ng isang guro sa kanyang silid-aralan. Gumamit ako ng short video clip, printed materials, meta cards, activity sheets, PowerPoint presentation, at pen and board. Mahalagang maunawaan ng mga guro na ang gamit ng kanyang teaching and learning resources ay upang marating ang kanyang learning goals para sa mga bata, para sa paksang kanyang tinatalakay.